Let's get started. Today, we'll be using our demo account. Now, this is the same SmugMug account we use for our Getting Started with SmugMug webinar, but we're actually using a completely different site design template for this customization webinar. And we're going to enter our organizer first by clicking Organize in the global navigation menu. Now, our organized site view is where we can create new folders, galleries, and pages, but also where we can see all the content on our account at a glance. Now, you can see we have a folder in our organizer that's named Customization Webinar. You obviously won't have that same folder, and we'll be using this folder to just quickly illustrate hierarchy and to bypass uploading during the presentation. Now, while it's entirely possible to jump right into the customizer after uploading into your first gallery, we suggest that you begin in your organizer and create the folders, galleries, and pages you're going to need to personalize your SmugMug site. Doing this first will save you time and make it much easier to link your content blocks to the correct content in your organizer. Now, the first folder we recommend everyone create is a site assets folder. This will be an unlisted folder, meaning it won't be visible to anyone, but the content inside can be accessed. With the photo site homepage selected in the left panel, we'll click Create and then select Folder. This folder, we'll title it Site Assets. Next, we need to change the visibility setting from public to unlisted. So we click the Security and Privacy tab and toggle the visibility setting from public to unlisted. Then we'll click Create. Next, let's create a folder to put our portfolio galleries into. Most photographers have at least a few genres or categories to share. By creating a portfolio folder, you can organize the galleries that we intend to promote. We also want to create an About page, which is done from within the organizer as well. So with photo site homepage selected again, followed by Create, we'll select Folder. We'll title this folder Portfolio, and since this folder is intended to be seen, we're going to leave the visibility setting as public. Now we'll click Create to finish. Next, we're going to create a gallery inside this folder. We can do this by clicking either Create in the upper left or by clicking the Create New button in the center of the screen. We're going to go ahead and click Create New and select Gallery. Now, this gallery will hold images related to California, so we're going to title it California. Now, we've already created a gallery preset for these types of galleries. To apply a gallery preset, we simply click the drop-down menu in the Basics tab and then select Portfolio Gallery. Now, all of the basic security and sharing, photo protection, social, shopping, and appearance tabs are applied to the gallery in just one click. If you've not yet discovered gallery presets or customized your default gallery setting, we've included a link in the reference document to learn more about those features. We'll click Create to finish creating the gallery. Now, to save a bit of time, we're not going to cover how to upload into a gallery. Instead, we're going to quickly access our customization webinar assets folder and drag a few images and galleries into our new portfolio folder. This will give us the opportunity to highlight the move and collect features you may be less familiar with. As we select the images, we can see that there are two options. The first one is going to be Move, and then we have Collect. Moving is when you take the original image out of one gallery and put it into another gallery. Collecting is to place a virtual collected copy into another gallery so that you have two copies of the same image. We're going to select Collect and place virtual copies into our California gallery. Now notice the little arrow at the bottom left corner of the images. This tells us that they are collected images, and deleting collected photos does not remove the originals, just the virtual copies. Next, we're going to revisit our customization webinar assets folder and select the remaining galleries with images and move them into our portfolio folder. After selecting the galleries from the center of the screen, we can click any of the selected galleries, hold, and then drag them into our portfolio folder. Now we see that our portfolio folder has 4 galleries representing categories of images. Let's wrap up what we need to and create a gallery for our homepage images and an about page. When that's complete, we're going to dive into customizing. So with the new site assets folder selected, we're going to create a new gallery and name it homepage images. Next, we'll show you once again how to collect images from your galleries to be displayed in multiple locations. Now, it's very common to collect images you want to present on your homepage into a specific gallery for that purpose. This allows for flexibility and ease when updating your homepage and site designs in the future. We'll simply visit our portfolio folder, select a few images from each gallery, and collect them into this purpose-built gallery for our homepage images. And with that, we've collected a few images from each gallery into our dedicated gallery that we'll use later on to populate images into a carousel content block. And finally, let's create the About page that will be added to the navigation menu to tell our site visitors more about us. We want the link to the About page to be clean. For example, yourphotographybusiness.com/about. To do this, we create the page under the top level. We click Photo Site Homepage, followed by Create, and then we'll select Web Page. Now we have several page type options, including About Me, Custom, Portfolio, and Pricing. Each of these page types, excluding Custom, have 3 layouts, and these are just starting points and contain different content blocks in different orders to help you get started. We're going to select the About Me for the page type and then choose the vertical layout and then click Next, and we'll title this page About and then click Create. After clicking Create, we're transported into the customizer for this page. This is great if you're ready to start customizing, but for our purposes and for this presentation, we want to cover a few more customization basics before diving into customizing our About page. So from here, we're going to click Photo Site and then Discard Changes to go back to our SmugMug homepage. Now, I've got a pro tip to share with you all. Duplicating your browser tab before entering the customizer can help by giving you quick access into your organizer. If you need to create a new or move content while also being in the customizer, another browser tab can really help. Simply right-click on the browser tab and then select Duplicate. Now we can click Customize in the upper right corner. The customizer should only take a second or two to load, and when it's done, we see a new panel of tools and settings on the right side of our screen. Let's start from the top and work our way down. Template Settings is our first button. This is where you can update your current template design name to quickly locate it in your collection of design templates. Choose to disable the SmugMug branding by turning the SmugMug header off and making the footer mini. Choose also where the Powered by SmugMug message is shown at the bottom. Do you want a unique looking splash page that's first shown to your site's visitors before entering the rest of your site? Use the Independent Homepage feature. Notice the little question mark icon next to the feature? We call these helpies, and they just tell you more about it. So for the independent homepage, an independent homepage is not affected by changes to the entire site layer. We'll get into more detail about this feature in a few minutes. And lastly, if you wanted to update your website's browser icon, you can do so using the favicon feature. And that's the template settings menu. Next, let's take a look at the preview button. Use the preview button to hide the customization panel of tools and to see the changes you've made while customizing and before publishing them live. When previewing the site, you can click all the links and test the functionality. If you wish to continue customizing, you can click back and bring the customization tools back out. Or if you're happy with the customizations you've applied, you can click publish and publish the changes to the site. We're going to go ahead and click back to go back into the customizer. Next to the preview button, and in green, we have the done button. The done button gives us 4 options. Publish now to apply what you've done while in the customizer. The customizer will close and you'll land on whatever page you are viewing. As we said before, publishing makes your customizations live on your site. Our middle option is save for later. Use this option if you need to close the customizer, but save what you've done without publishing. The next time you enter the customizer, you'll pick up where you left off. Then we have discard changes. This will revert everything you've done in the customizer to the last publish point. And lastly, close, which takes us back to the customization tools and the panel. We're going to go ahead and click close and move back into the customizer. Now below and sandwiched between template settings and preview buttons, we have a little X icon and a less than symbol. Use the X icon to hide the customization panel, and then the green plus to bring it back out, and then use the less than symbol to move the panel to the left side of the screen. But we're going to go ahead and move it back to the right for our next task. Let's next discuss and explain about the different layers of your SmugMug website. Below the preview and done buttons, we see the available layers. Starting from the top, there's the entire site, and when selected, it shows highlighted in red. Now, when you're customizing, it's a good idea to keep an eye on the layer that's selected and highlighted. The selected layer is what's going to receive and show the customizations you apply using the below content, theme, background, and layout tabs. Now, when the entire site layer is selected, customizations added will affect the homepage and every gallery, every folder, and every page you have created. The exception to this is if the independent homepage feature we previously discussed is turned on in the template settings. Now, I'm sure you're asking yourself, how would I use this feature? And the answer is, if you wanted to create a unique landing or splash page separate from the other elements on your entire site. We've all been to websites that have a single image or a slideshow or video displayed on a page with a simple button to enter the rest of the site. Once clicking enter, you're shown the branding elements such as logo, navigation menu, and the rest of the site. We have an example of this we can show you with Chris Burkhart's SmugMug website. Many of you have likely heard of Chris Burkhardt. Chris is known around the world for his surf and travel photography and was the feature of our award-winning SmugMug film, Arctic Swell, which was filmed in Iceland. Now, Chris is utilizing the independent homepage feature. On the homepage, you'll notice a single static image filling the entire background. This image is selected from the background tab in the customizer. More on that later. What we see is the navigation menu on the homepage layer that all visitors can easily navigate to various sections of his site. When we click on Portfolio, for example, notice the different look compared to the homepage. We see the logo in the upper left and the navigation menu. These content blocks are on the entire site layer, and this is the effect of independent homepage. Simply put, content blocks added to the entire site are not shown on the homepage layer when independent homepage is enabled. All right, let's head back to our demo site. Below the entire site layer, we have the homepage layer, and when selected, it will highlight in blue. Examples of customizations typically applied to the homepage layer would be a slideshow or carousel content block, but it could also be a multiple photos, galleries, or folders content block. Now, we're currently displaying a slideshow content block, and we know that because we also see slideshow under on homepage in the customization panel, showing the current content blocks on the homepage layer. Let's quickly show you how you could switch out the slideshow content block and instead use a carousel content block. To do that, we need to remove this content block first. We'll start by hovering our mouse over the slideshow content block. It will highlight blue, and in the upper left, we see several tool icons. Now, we want the trash can icon to remove the block, but before we do that, let's summarize what the other options do. The four-way arrow farthest to the left lets us move the content block to somewhere else on the page. You click, hold, and then drag the content block around. While hovering and holding, you'll see four arrows appear. Release when the desired direction is highlighted. The measuring square icon opens the dimensions tool. Now, if you want to move a content block up, down, left, or right a few pixels, use this tool. And at the bottom, you can change the width of the content block container. Now you'll see this value shown in pixels if the page has a fixed width, or it will be a percentage value if the page layout option is set to stretchy. Fixed and stretchy are the two layout options in the layout tab, and more on that later. Then there's the wrench icon. Clicking this icon will open the settings for the content block itself. That said, so does just clicking anywhere on the block while it's highlighted. That will also bring up the same tools. And lastly, the icon and tool we want to use, the trash can. We'll click this and confirm we want the block removed. Now, it's worth noting that removing content blocks from your website does not remove the content itself. With the slideshow element no longer showing, we'll replace it with a carousel content block. And let's do that next. So with the center of this page now clear of any content blocks, we'll expand the drop-down menu for photos. We're going to select the bottom option, carousel. And then to add the carousel to the page, we simply hover our mouse over the name, then we click, hold, and drag the content block onto the page. While continuing to hold down our left mouse button, we see the center of the screen highlights in green. We have to place the content block in the highlighted area. We see an up and down arrow. When we see the arrows, go ahead, let go, and the content block will be placed in the center of the screen. What happens next is that the settings for this specific content block are shown. Each content block on SmugMug has its own set of settings, but they also have default settings. Now, the basic tab of settings is what we're shown first. There's also another tab of settings related to the carousel controls. Some content blocks may have several tabs of settings and additional options only visible if you scroll down in the settings panel. Photo source is pretty important. That's asking what photos are you going to display in this carousel content block. The default setting is gallery and just what we want. Now, the photos I choose option can seem like the right choice, but using that option requires you to manually update the images from the customizer. We're going to go with the default photo source setting of gallery because we've curated a gallery for just this purpose. Doing it this way will make it much easier to add new photos and change the order at the gallery level rather than having to customize the site manually and select the images. Now, the setting we'll pick is Choose Gallery, and we're going to double click on our Site Assets folder and then click Homepage Images, followed by Done in the lower right corner. Now we've selected the gallery and the carousel populates with the images. The height setting sets the height of the carousel as a percentage of the viewer's browser screen. I tend to recommend 66 or 100%, but I've also seen photographers create smaller thumbnail-sized carousels that live at the top or bottom of pages or galleries, so the lower values are great too. Content-aware height is usually a good idea to keep on. It makes sure that the carousel or slideshow height adjusts to the viewer's screen. Let's jump over to the Controls tab real fast. Now we're trying to accomplish a clean look. So we'll toggle the navigation arrows to off. I also like the continual motion of the carousel, so we'll also turn loop images on, and there's an option to randomize the images. We'll select that too. And to finish placing the content block, we'll click Done, followed by Publish Now, and then take a look. Now, another pro tip we recommend, especially when you're first getting started with customizing, is that you publish often. This saves what you've done and you can start fresh on your next task. As you advance, you can stack your customizations and publish all at once, but when you get started, it's always a good idea to publish often. Now, we'll click Customize again to re-enter the customizer. Now, I know that many of you are drawn to the full screen background slideshow option, so let's show you where that is. If we visit the background tab, we see the option is set to none. Clicking that will show us the background options available. We see that inherit from entire site. This means that the background setting for that layer will be the same that's set on the entire site layer. None is the option we have selected. Photo will show a single image full screen. And then there's video and will automatically play one of your uploaded videos. And lastly, there's the slideshow option, which displays a series of images one after another. We're going to go ahead and select the slideshow option. Now for the photo source, we're going to select the same homepage images gallery housed in our site assets folder. And boom, we now see the images playing in the background with the existing content block on top. Let's remove the carousel real fast and show the full screen slideshow in all its glory. By clicking preview, we can now see the full screen slideshow in action. Now, we actually want to go ahead and keep that carousel content block that we added. So let's click back, followed by done, and then discard changes. This takes us out of the customizer and back to the last publish point when we published the carousel. We'll click customize again in the upper right and then head back into the customizer. Now let's continue to expand on the site layers. The next two layers on our SmugMug site are the all folders and all galleries layer. Starting with the all folders layer. Now the content blocks commonly found on this layer are the ones designed to show your folders, galleries, and pages in your organizer's hierarchy. For example, if you have a galleries content block on the all folders layer, galleries will show to visitors when they're looking inside of a folder. At this time, most of the design templates have 3 content blocks on the all folders layer, one for galleries, one for folders, and one for pages. While this works fine, using a single folders, galleries, and pages content block rather than 3 separate ones allows for a cleaner viewing experience. Let's show you how you can remove the 3 content blocks in favor of just one. So as we hover over the content blocks on the page, they highlight. They also highlight when we hover over their names in the customization panel. So we'll hover over the folders and select the trash can icon and remove the block. We'll do the same thing for the galleries. And lastly, we'll do the same thing for the pages content block. We're left with only the breadcrumb content block. Now, if you're planning to direct your site visitors using a navigation menu and going for a cleaner look, you can choose to remove this one too. If you don't know what a breadcrumb is, on the web, and specifically when building websites, a breadcrumb shows the visitor where they are in the site's hierarchy. They can see what folders and galleries or pages they had to click to get to where they are. Again, we're going for a clean, minimalist look, so we'll also remove the breadcrumb content block from the all folders layer. Now, with all the content blocks removed, we'll add a single folders, galleries, and pages content block to the page. In the customization panel, we'll find add content blocks and expand the galleries section. Here we see the single-use content blocks we just removed, and then there's the one we want, folders, galleries, and pages. We'll click, hold, and drag and release the content block into the center of the screen. Now we see that folders, galleries, and the about page are all in the same block. But we're not done. Let's adjust how the folders, galleries, and pages are shown. We'll click on the block to open its settings. For the basic settings, we'll keep the title blank. We also want to keep the select from option to current location. This ensures that whenever someone is viewing inside of a folder, no matter where they are in the hierarchy, they will see the contents of the folder they are viewing. 99% of the time, you want the select from option for the content blocks on the all folders layer to be set to current location. The settings we're going to change are the layout and the photo size settings. We see that the default layout setting is set to grid. While this works, we tend to have a good mix of portrait and landscape oriented images, and we want to show the whole image rather than have some of it cropped off. So we're going to change the layout option to collage landscape rather than grid. And then we see live on the screen that the content is now showing in the native aspect ratio. Next, let's increase the photo size from small to large, and we'll keep the very photo site setting turned off. Next, a quick look at the display tab. Let's add some space between the images shown in the content block. Let's go ahead and go with 24 pixels. And we'll also turn off the little icon showing if it's a folder, gallery, or page. Info style is talking about the information about the folder, gallery, or page. In this case, it's the title. The current setting shows the title at the bottom of the image in a little bar. Let's change that to under so that the title shows under the content, and we're also going to align it to the center. All right, let's click done and apply the changes and move to the all galleries layer. Now, it's not very common to customize this layer, but let's quickly talk about what you would add to this layer if you wanted. Let's say you wanted to notify your site visitors that you're running a promotion and that there's a coupon available. By placing a text content block on the all galleries layer, you can show your promotional message at the top of your galleries. Let's show you how. We'll expand the text section under Add Content Blocks and drag a text content block onto the page. We have some text prepared that we're going to paste in. And to make the text a little larger, we'll update the heading to use number 2, and then we'll center everything up. Now we have a promotional message telling anyone that's inside of a gallery that wall prints are 20% off. Now notice that we don't see it here on our homepage, but as soon as we click on a gallery, we see the promotional message at the top. Let's click Browse to see our content, followed by the portfolio folder that we created, and then the California gallery that we collected images into. And now we see at the top of the California gallery a message notifying visitors that we're running a promotion on wall prints. And with that, we've covered the main layers of your site. So you know, it's also possible to make a gallery or folder custom, and we'll show you how that's done in a little bit. Let's move on to the next tab in the customizer and talk about themes and the settings within. Clicking the Themes tab, we can see the theme that's currently active for the layer that's selected. We can see by clicking on all the layers that the same theme is applied to each layer. Now, you may want a theme with a light aesthetic on the home page, but a darker aesthetic for viewing the galleries. Select the homepage layer and then a theme with light colors and a different darker theme for the all galleries layer. Now, we have dozens of pre-built themes, and you're welcome to choose any of them, but you may also want to make changes to an existing theme and make it your own. This is easy. Hover over any of the themes, and to the right, there's a little wrench icon. Again, we see several tabs of options. Starting with the basic tab, we see the colors, where we can change the primary color. There's a setting for the text and accent colors as well. The accent color is used to draw attention to elements such as buttons and links. I like to think of the accent color as your brand color. Next, there are font options for both the heading and the body. And then under the Advanced tab, we see a bunch more options. Under Page, we can change the graphic or color of the background. If you're using any of the full screen background options from the Background tab that we just explored a little earlier, these theme options would show below those. Below Page, we have the site section colors. This is where we can update the color and opacity of the header, left sidebar, body, right sidebar, and footer that are part of the entire site. If you've enabled the left or right sidebar and want the body section for certain pages to be different than those on the entire site layer, then you can also update the page section colors. And at the very bottom of the Advanced tab, we can see where we can apply custom CSS. This is one of two ways you can add custom code to your site. The other method is by applying a CSS or HTML content block to your site's layer and then embed the code. Now, adding and saving CSS to the theme is helpful if you plan to use the theme with other design templates. And that's the end of the theme settings here. Now, we've already explored the Background tab, so let's move past it and dig into the Layout tab and settings within. The layout settings all pertain to how the sections of the site are set up. Let's start with the first setting, Layout, and our options are Stretchy and Fixed. With Stretchy enabled, the page will be displayed dynamically. This means it will stretch to match the screen size and ratio of the viewer. Stretchy is a very popular and common setting to have enabled, especially for the all folders and all galleries layer. The fixed option will fix the width of the page, and 960 pixels is the default for that fixed width. We're going to go ahead and put it back to stretchy. The margin setting will put some space between your sections and the edge of the viewer's screen. The section setting will let you set the width of the header, body, and footer sections of the site. And then we have the sidebar settings. Let's talk a little bit more about these, since many of the design templates use the sidebars. Typically, sidebars are part of the entire site layer. We'll first select the entire site layer and then scroll down and turn the left sidebar on. Now, with the left sidebar turned on, we can simply drag and drop content blocks into the section and create a whole new look and feel. Let's show you how. Let's move all of the content blocks in the header section of the entire site into the left sidebar. If it's not selected already, we'll start by selecting the entire site layer, so it's highlighted in red. Next, we'll start with the logo content block. Find the four-way arrow, click and drag it into the left sidebar. We'll click the logo content block and update the settings so that it looks good within the sidebar. And we'll also use a custom graphic. So we'll start by removing the main and tagline text, then click the image tab to select our logo image. From here, we can click the image icon and open the picker. We'll select our logo image, followed by the white version of the SmugMug logo. After selecting it, we'll click done in the lower right. Now, after selecting the logo, we see it's way too big for the space. Simply set a value in the resize width option and find the size that works best. We know that about 225 pixels works good for this logo. We'll click done and close the logo content block. Next, we need to move the navigation menu below the logo. So we'll hover over the block and find the four-way arrow, click and drag it down. Now, this time, we want to hover over the logo content block and we see four arrows. We're being asked in relationship to the logo content block, where do we want to put the navigation menu? We want the menu to be below the logo, so we'll release with the down arrow selected, and the menu appears. Typically, menus in the sidebars are displayed vertically, so let's click the menu to open the settings. We'll update the layout style from horizontal to vertical, and the rest of the settings are just fine. Let's move on to the links tab. Now, it's very common to have multiple links in your navigation menu. The default links include home, search, and browse. Earlier in the presentation, we created a portfolio folder to hold our curated galleries of images, as well as an about page. At this point, let's add both of those to the navigation menu. We'll click the plus icon to create a new link. We'll name the new link Portfolio. Next, we want to change the link to option from custom URL to page I choose. We would use the custom URL option only if we wanted to link to a page or website outside of SmugMug. If you're linking to a folder, gallery, or page that lives on your SmugMug account, you want to use the page I choose option. We'll click choose page and then single click the portfolio folder. With the portfolio folder selected, we'll click done and then close the picker. And we'll do the same steps for the about page. Click the plus icon to create a new link. We'll name it about. Change the link to option from custom URL to page I choose, and then we're going to select the about page that we created. At the top, we can click the links button and go back and rearrange the order of the links. I personally like it when the search option is at the end of the links. So if we hover our mouse over the bar next to the link name, we see our old friend, the four-way arrow. Click and hold to rearrange the links. Perfect. And since we are choosing to link to a portfolio folder, we no longer need the default browse link. So hovering over browse, we'll click the trash can icon to the right and remove the link from the lineup. And lastly, let's pull the social icons out of the header and place it into the left sidebar as well. So we'll hover over the social icons content block, find the four-way arrow and move it below the navigation menu. We'll click the block to open up its settings. The basic tab consists of the social accounts you can connect to your SmugMug. You can see we've added the SmugMug accounts for Facebook, Instagram, our sister company Flickr, as well as YouTube. Let's click the display tab and update how the social icons show on the site. Since they are in the sidebar, I think a horizontal layout works best, but let's raise the icon size to large and let's change the type. Let's use the default option. We'll also align the icons to the center of the screen. And for the color, let's go with the branded option. Now, we suggest that you also keep the open links in new tab setting turned on. This ensures that your visitors can stay on your SmugMug site in one browser tab and open a new tab with your social account. Let's click done, followed by done, and then publish now to save and publish the customizations we just made. And like that, we've transformed the SmugMug site from having the logo, navigation menu, and social icons in the header to displaying them in the left sidebar. All right, and to wrap up the presentation, we want to visit the template design picker. From the homepage, click New Site Design. Here we can see our saved site designs. The design marked current is the one we've been working with today. You can see we have another site design that we use to present our Getting Started with SmugMug webinar. What we want to do here in the design template picker is to highlight that each of the available designs were built and customized using the same exact set of tools we just explored. Each design template has a different combination of content blocks, theme settings, background settings, and layout settings applied. We encourage you to try out the different designs, but know that with a few clicks and changing a few settings, you can drag and drop the content blocks on one design and make it look and function like any of the other designs. Don't get hung up on choosing the quote unquote right design. Use them instead as inspiration and to see what's possible using the different content blocks, themes, and other settings available in the customizer. And that concludes the recording of this SmugMug photo site customization webinar. If you have any questions about a feature or setting discussed in this video, please reach out to the SmugMug support team via the email address help@smugmug.com. Thanks for watching and have a great day.